This is the year that you can get and stay pregnant. There are ways to maximize and increase your chances of natural pregnancy. After 2 losses, I decided that it would be best to take a break. We were never taught about our menstrual cycles. We were only taught about how to not get pregnant. You can start to have more confidence and more faith in your body. Hello, love, and welcome to 2025. Happy New Year. If you are anything like me, the new year brings feelings of hope and renewal and possibility, and you are probably trying to figure out what can you plan for the next 365 days. Maybe you are even trying to figure out if this can be the year. This is the year that you can get and stay pregnant. I want to share with you 4 of my tips of things that I would do if I were trying to get pregnant again this year, which I'm not. These are 4 tips of things that can help maximize your chances of getting pregnant and minimize your risk of miscarriage. If you're new here, hello, I am Erica. I am a certified nutrition specialist. I have a master's in integrative nutrition, but I think my biggest and best qualification and credential is that I am the mother of an 18-month-old rainbow baby, and I have 2 angel babies between her and my 6-year-old oldest. So if you're looking for some tips of things that maybe you haven't thought about, stick around. I have them for you now. So if you're here, you're probably following along for tips and guidance and some encouragement of how to do this thing against the odds, how to get pregnant naturally when everybody and everywhere you look is telling you that most likely is not going to happen. That getting pregnant naturally, if you're someone who's struggling, is most likely not going to happen. That the chances of that happening are very, very low. And you most likely are going to need assisted methods, right? That's what everybody and their mama is telling you. And that's probably what you're seeing, because this friend and this cousin and all these people, this is how they are getting pregnant. And you are seeing their eventual success. I mean, definitely assisted methods sometimes take multiple cycles, but you are seeing some type of success. So you are more likely thinking that you also are going to be needing this. But there are ways to maximize and increase your chances of natural pregnancy to restore and revitalize your natural fertility. So this is actually my first video back since my very extended maternity leave. I mean, what's the point of being self-employed if you can't take months and months and months for your maternity leave? It definitely was a lot longer than the maternity leave I took my oldest daughter, because I think I took 12 weeks. So getting back into the groove of things has been a little slow, trying to reacclimate myself to this whole world of video making and content creation and all that good stuff. But for my first video back, I really wanted to share probably some of the biggest takeaways I've had from the maternity leave from my rainbow baby. And I wanted to share those things with you because, again, the top of the new year, this is just a time where, we're all thinking it. I definitely remember I used to think that. I'm not thinking it now. I think I'm done. But, it's like, okay, the chapter closed on last year. 2024 is over, and maybe you didn't get pregnant. Or maybe you got pregnant and it didn't stick. So you are wondering, okay, let's try it again. What can 2025 bring you? So I wanted to make this first video back very valuable and very useful for you as we start the new year. I thought this is the best topic to use as my first video. These are tips and lessons that I learned on my journey to getting and staying pregnant after loss with my rainbow baby. So after 2 losses, I decided that it would be best to take a break, that it made more sense to take a long pause other than trying again and just crossing my fingers and all of my toes, hoping that this time will be different, that this baby would stick. During that time, I wanted to basically give my body a reset. I figured that would be the best way that the next time I did try, I will have more faith in my body. I will have more faith in my fertility. I will have confidence that my body could do this once again, that my body could get and stay pregnant. And so I wanted to dive deep into my health and my wellness and to figure out what was going on, because as someone who had a child previously, years before, I knew this was something that my body could do. So what changed? What went wrong? And with that, what can I do to undo the damage and get my body fertile again? So I challenged myself. I said, okay, if I were experiencing low fertility again, which I believe that I am not now, what would I do differently? What would I do to get pregnant in 2025? And I wanted to share those tips with you. Here are my 4
tips for restoring your health, rebalancing your hormones, and making your body fertile once again. I'm sure by now you have Googled to death the topics of nutrition, and you probably know maybe more than me in some cases. But I didn't want to start there. I wanted to start with topics that were a little more obscure, a little less talked about, a little less in the spotlight, but are oh so important for restoring your fertility and getting your body back in sync and rebalance. Tip number one is to track your cycle. I think this is baseline, foundational, super important for getting an idea of where you are, getting an idea of exactly which cogs on the wheel aren't turning properly. I think there is no more singularly important tool, especially not something that you have at your fingertips and literally on your phone on a day-to-day basis. There's no better tool that you have at your disposal to assess your fertility than tracking your cycle. Your cycle is a window into your health. There's actually a book called The Fifth Vital Sign. It's written by Lisa Hendricks Jax, and she wrote this book to explain that as important as your blood pressure is to know what's going on with your health, or something like your heart rate, all those things that they test and check, when you go after your checkup, those things are vitally important, just as what's going on with your menstrual cycle. Your menstrual cycle is basically the canary in the mine, as all other symptoms are. So when something is going on, something is going off with your cycle, it's basically us flashing signs saying, hey, look at this, what's going on. And for a cycling, menstruating woman, when you aren't cycling and you aren't menstruating, but you should be in your reproductive years and something is going wrong, that is like the first place to look. Whether or not you want to have children, but certainly if you want to have children, your natural cycle is your best path forward to a natural pregnancy. Your natural cycle is actually the best path forward for an assisted pregnancy also, because as wonderful as those technologies are, that egg, the fertilized egg, that baby embryo has to still go back into your body. So your optimized health, your optimized fertility is key. And tracking your cycle can still tell you where the missing pieces are, or where the disconnect is in your lifestyle and your health and your nutrition, and how your body is being supported. So your menstrual cycle needs to be monitored closely. It needs to be looked at through that lens, the lens of this is my key to pregnancy. And with that, you can dive really close and really specific into the oddities and the bits and pieces of your cycle.
Once you start really dialing in and tracking your menstrual cycle, you will get a window into your estrogen levels, which is a way to check in on your egg health and your egg development. You will get a window into your endometrial lining and the thickness there and how robust it is based on, your bleeding. Tracking your menstrual cycle actually gives you an early warning sign of risk of miscarriage and impending miscarriage because of the way your basal body temperature reacts to pregnancy. Other important things that you can learn from tracking is your level of inflammation, what's going on with your thyroid health, what's going on with basically all of your hormones and your hormone balance, because your thyroid is the central hub of your hormones. So it's really important to use this, I say simple tool. It is simple. It's sometimes complex to learn, but it's, I think, simple to use and to activate and to actually manage throughout the month and throughout your cycle. It can seem daunting when you're first starting off because we were never taught about our menstrual cycles. We were only taught about how to not get pregnant. We were never taught about our natural cycle. We were taught how to take control, and that isn't a natural cycle. That is a very controlled cycle that is set to have a bleed on a certain part of the month, but that never really gives you a handle or a grasp on what it is to track your cycle and the symptoms that are associated with different phases of your cycle. Your implantation window is really important to keep track of. Your fertile window, these are the days where you need to know, when should I be trying anyway? It shows you what's going on with your cervical mucus and basically how fertile it is, or how sperm friendly your cervical mucus is, because all of these things go into your chances of getting pregnant naturally. Can you imagine if you just had like the worst luck in the world and you were trying on the wrong day and you just never successfully timed your trying with your ovulation? I feel like someone out there is experiencing this in some alternate universe. It is possible, just that you need to maximize what you do have while you are still trying to improve your cycle, while you're trying trying to make improvements and get things better, you can still dial in and figure out, okay, in the meantime, when are the best days to try? Maybe my partner has sperm issues and you need to maximize that, and how do you work around that? But all of these things are important to be precise in time, precisely to get the best results of getting pregnant and hopefully staying pregnant. Not to suck the fun out of the trying process, but sometimes when you've been waiting for a while, you just you want what you wanted yesterday, okay? And you want it to happen now. So sometimes it is useful to be able to have these tools to fast track your family planning and fast track your next pregnancy. When tracking your cycle, you need to figure out your timing of your cycle. So basically, how many days do you bleed? Is that enough? Does the color and the quality of blood look like it's healthy? Does the cervical mucus that your body makes leading up to ovulation, does that support sperm health and protect the sperm to be able to fertilize the egg? You should also look at your implantation window and the number of days from ovulation to the end of your cycle, because that lets you know how well your body could support an implanted fertilized egg, and if that egg would even be able to stick anyway, let alone the chances of it getting fertilized in the first place, making sure that your body could then go on to support that fertilized egg before the hormones shift and that egg is basically washed away. The next thing I would look at if I were trying to get pregnant this year would be my gut health. I would make sure that my gut health was functioning at top level. Words like gut health and microbiome, I mean, yeah, these aren't sexy words. I mean, that's fair, but it is still really important that we check in on it. And your gut health is more than just digestion and pooping. Sorry, I had to say it. But it is so key because there's something called a gut-brain axis. Your gut actually communicates and has control and say-so over so many tissues and organs in all parts of your body and your systems. So it is really important that your gut is able to function well, because just like if your brain were not be able to function well, it will throw everything off. We understand that, but the same thing is true for your gut. It's actually called your second brain. So if you have asthma, it's probably gut issues. If you have eczema, check in on your gut. If you're having brain fog or depression and anxiety, all these things are linked to your gut health. And guess what else? Your fertility is linked to your gut health. Leaky gut is often the culprit, and a lot of times we don't talk about that. This is basically a chink in the armor, a leak in the dam, so to speak. So leaky gut refers to the issues in the lining of your gut wall. The cells there are supposed to be tightly joined. It's supposed to be this tight wall, and it's supposed to form this barrier of what is allowed to absorb into your body after you digest it. And if the cells there start to get loose and separate and those spaces become bigger and bigger, well, guess what? Bigger and bigger molecules and bigger things can start to go into your bloodstream and be absorbed. But sometimes these things are new and your body is not used to having to deal with it. So it treats it as a foreign substance. And you can imagine that basically all hell can break loose when this new thing is allowed in your body and your body doesn't know how to react. Because normally it overreacts, because that's just the safest way to do. Like, we must kill and destroy, seek and destroy everything. And when that happens, lots of reactions can happen in your body, and you have all these other symptoms. It's basically an allergic reaction. Your immune system mounts a defense, and sometimes things can get worse before they get better. And when we talk about gut health, most likely you are already aware of the bacteria that's in your body, that's in your gut, known as the microbiome. So this is basically the balance of the good and beneficial and helpful bacteria that live there in coexistence with the harmful, less protective, not beneficial bacteria that live in your gut. But you need a balance of both. Neither should be outweighing the other, and neither should try to take over. The beneficial and the harmful bacteria are meant to coexist. But maybe you have had one round of antibiotics too many, and now the harmful bacteria was given a chance to replenish and to populate before the helpful bacteria got a chance to get in there. And maybe the numbers are skewed in the wrong direction, and the harmful bacteria are kind of taking over, and their byproducts are not beneficial, and their byproducts are doing harm to your system. Specifically for your reproductive system, your gut bacteria and your microbiome is responsible, and it interacts with all stages from cell and egg development and maturation, implantation, when your placenta is starting to form. All these steps along the way are impacted by your gut health. Your gut health affects your estrogen balance and all your other hormones, basically. It impacts your insulin balance, and that goes on to affect your insulin resistance, which goes on to affect how well your organs can function, i.e. your reproductive organs. Poor gut health can even cause pregnancy complications. It's been linked to women having PCOS. It's been linked to endometriosis and even cancer. So you can see how vitally important it is for your gut health to be healthy and for you to support it. All diseases can have a root cause in poor gut health, and your fertility and reproductive system is no different. So when checking on your gut health, it is important to figure out certainly what foods are causing a disturbance. Maybe there's a sensitivity to some of the food additives, because again, these things are aggravating your body and causing your body to react to it with your immune system. So you need to figure out what foods are you sensitive to, maybe some of the things inside the food that you're sensitive to, what things are causing bloating and digestive discomfort, what things are just hard to digest, and making sure that you have a diet that includes healthy prebiotics as well as healthy probiotics. The next thing that I would look at would be my level of inflammation. Inflammation is so sneaky. Basically, this is how your body responds to a threat. You get a cut, you are bit by a mosquito, your body causes inflammation to deal with it. The area may become red or puffy. This is your body's way of sending lots of helpful and healing things to the area. But what if your body starts to react to healthy tissue? What if your body doesn't know how to turn the inflammation off? The tissue are bombarded with the inflammatory response, and you end up with systemic inflammation. This is basically like having the water running and it never gets turned off. It definitely is something that might need your attention. Or like having a robotic like vacuum cleaner that starts knocking things over just to have something to do. Your inflammatory response is part of your immune system, and when your immune system runs berserk, it can definitely have some not so good repercussions, and your fertility can suffer. Your fertility, as well as other aspects of your health and well-being, can definitely suffer. And the way that inflammation works is that it disrupts the function of tissues and organs and systems that should be able to function properly. It gets in the way of your body being able to receive and to send signals, to receive and to send out nutrition, to receive and send out other signals, to communicate with other parts of the body. So it definitely can slow things down. If your body is a factory, some type of machinery, this is like the gunk in there that's slowing down the engines, slowing down the conveyor belts, slowing down things from working properly, and therefore disrupting output. And that output would normally be a smoothly running cycle, really awesome and healthy eggs, the best, thickest, most nutritious uterine lining for those little babies that are trying to implant, and then the way that your body can move on to develop the placenta to go on and continue to support that baby. All those things are slowed down. Of course, the hormones are in there too that are getting slowed down or, confused and sent haywire. So inflammation is a pest, is a pest that needs to be dialed down, cooled off, and turned off so that your body can again function normally. So if your inflammation is affecting your reproductive system, it's affecting the ovaries and how well they are formed and function. It's affecting the follicles inside of them and how well they can go on to develop and mature your eggs. It's affecting your uterine lining, and fertility is diminished because function is diminished. So we can't have this, right? If you are someone who is trying to get pregnant in 2025, this is something that you need to be tackling like now. Of course, inflammation can come from so many sources. It can come from poor diet. It can come from the choices that you're making in your diet, but it even can come from the additives and food sensitivities in the foods that you're eating. Maybe it's coming from poor exercise or poor sleep or lack of sleep. All these things can be an input. But you want to know one of the biggest, again, sneakiest ways that inflammation comes? It's through stress. Stress is one of the biggest inputs to inflammation. It is a head down kind of thing. Again, our brain controls our whole body, and stress is an often overlooked source. Well, maybe I shouldn't say overlooked, because we all know stress kills, right? It causes heart attacks, it causes high blood pressure. I mean, it makes your hair fall out, it causes all these other issues, right? You can have stomach cramps or migraines, all these things just because you're stressed. So why would your fertility and reproductive system be any different? You just aren't aware of it. You aren't seeing it on a daily basis. You aren't able to really tap in unless you're someone who's following tip number 1 and you are tracking your cycle. But for most of us, this is something that is kind of obscure. It's something that's in the background and we aren't really paying attention to it. And I know certainly I wasn't. And so when I started to look at my inflammation and look at my stress, that was one of the biggest tools that helped me get pregnant with my rainbow baby. And remember, when we're feeling these symptoms of stress, when we're feeling this stomach discomfort and the tension in our body and we're not able to sleep well, all these things, this is your body trying to give you the biggest, brightest neon sign. Even before the movie Inside Out came out, that's how I visualized inside my body. Like there's some big master board and there are little people in there controlling everything, right? So there's the big flashing light on the board saying, look at this, look at this. And finally, we just need someone to pay attention and figure out, okay, how do we get this light to turn off? What does it mean? And how can we fix it? But based on the environment that we live in and the political world that we live in and the fact that you're trying to get pregnant and have a baby and you can't, yeah, you're probably very stressed. And it is important for you to learn how to manage that stress. And stress management is more than just finding a release valve. Yeah, you should definitely have that monthly massage on the books or whatever ways that you can calm your nervous system down. But one key thing that goes into stress management is stress reduction, okay? You can't just manage your way out of this. You have to start eliminating some of the stress and getting rid of some of the ways and the reasons and the causes that you are stressed out. And that's probably easier said than done, because if your job is stressing you out, okay, maybe you're not quitting tomorrow. If your parents and their health is stressing you out, you can't go out and get new parents or go back in time and change their life decisions and make them healthier now in their older age. What you should be doing is finding some type of escape plan, finding some way to slowly dial those things back. Maybe you need to write it down. Maybe you need to sketch out what's going on. Actually, I have a wheel of life that I'm going to insert in the description. This is a way to kind of track all the aspects of your life and show you your level of satisfaction with them. You can use this tool to map out areas of your life that bring you joy and areas of your life that bring you stress. And you need to work to kind of manage all of them and bring them all kind of to an even level. So I'm going to put that in the description for you to grab. I think it's such a great tool. It just takes a few minutes to print it out and to put all the little dots on the wheel and figure out what's going on with your life. This is definitely a good tool at the start of this new year, as you can start bringing in some goal setting and some plans for the remainder of the year. And I will also be trying to figure out what nutrition changes I can be making, what herbal support I can be adding to soothe and calm my nervous system, as well as lifestyle changes that I can be making to make my life a little less stressful. I read the book Atomic Habits. That was a great read to figure out ways to kind of string your day together so that things can flow a little bit better. This is more so for creating new habits, but I think it's good for some of the habits we already have. Like, how can we make our day more productive? There's actually another book that I've had my eye on by Ali Abdallah called Feel Good Productivity, How to Do More of What Matters to You. And I haven't read it yet, but I think it's a really good book. Again, just trying to figure out how to manage your life more easily and to be more productive. And with that, I believe, certainly in my life, would come a lot less stress. Tip number 4 would be assessing and addressing and eliminating the ways that endocrine disrupting chemicals are entering your life. You can also call them hormone disruptors because that's the easiest way to talk about them. Hormone disruptors are actually a great source of stress and fear and actually anger and irritation in my life, because it's so frustrating that they even exist and that we are left to kind of just deal with the fallout of them. Endocrine disruptors or hormone disruptors, whatever you want to call them, are chemicals that have a known history, documented, researched thoroughly, of being able to go into our bodies and either mimic or block our natural hormones. So this is a very long list of chemicals that are found in all of these commercial goods that are allowed into our homes, into our bodies, that go on to affect not only other aspects of our health that are also now being researched and other diseases that are affected by these things, but fertility. And there is a known link in the rise in the number of these chemicals that are used by industrialized sources and the rise in low fertility. Like, those two things are clearly linked together. For the past few decades, they both have been going up. And why hasn't someone figured out a way to deal with them and eliminate them? Why are they still allowed to be added to our products? It drives me crazy. So because of the mimicry, or because of the hormones are being blocked, function is being blocked. And we've already discussed how important function is for function. You need things to be able to function properly, and you need your body to be able to handle these systems as they should and as they were intended. Again, if you're someone like myself who had a baby at one point and now all of a sudden you go to try to have a baby and it's all of a sudden complicated and your fertility is low, something is definitely changing. So for me, this was one aspect that I really dialed into. I really tried to make my home as low tox as possible. I started to make my own soaps and creams and lotions and detergents, and I really looked at my labels and figured out, what was I allowing into my home? What chemicals were I allowing into my body? And I already had one daughter, so how can I start to protect her even now so that she can grow up and make sure that she doesn't have these fertility issues later on in life? So these hormone disruptors, or EDCs, are literally everywhere. In your kitchen, in your bathroom, in your candles, in the baby products that you are using or will be using on your baby, in your makeup bag, in just about everywhere that you look. Your cleaning products, it's in your nonstick skillet, it's in your drinking water. When I say it is everywhere, it is everywhere. It is in your food. So many people working to ban these things that have petitions, and certainly in other countries, their government is basically starting to take notice and aren't allowing some of these chemicals into the foods. But in our country, good old USA, these things aren't banned yet. Why? I don't know. Well, I do know why. Cha-ching ching. So I'm not suggesting you have to break the bank and throw everything out that's already in your house, or turn into the DIY from scratch queen like I have. But you do need to start being intentional and investigating and basically assuming the worst. You can no longer just accept these products for what they are. There's a term called GRAS, generally regarded as safe. And that term safe is a little obscure. So you need to determine what you accept and what your threshold is, because safe doesn't mean that it's as low toxic as the companies probably are trying to convince you that they are. But they affect basically every stage of pregnancy, from egg health and development, from implantation, all the way through the early stages of growing the placenta and the early stages of your baby development. It affects pregnancy outcomes and even the long-term health of you and your baby. But no one, it seems to be coming to save us, so we have to save ourselves. Of course, we always vote with our dollars, and you can control what you allow into your home and what you spend your money on. So, side note, I actually went to dinner with a few school moms, and we got to talking and chat, and it turns out another mom is kind of cringy, kind of like me, and we started to fangirl about all of the DIYs that we do with the chemicals, and we started to like get on our soapbox about what is going on with these ECDs. So if you don't have one, make sure you get you a crunchy mom in your friend group, and she will give you all the tea and set you on the right path of how to start working through this process. For me, the best thing that I started to do was to use the Healthy Living app. It is run by the company EWG, Environmental Working Group, and they actually have a really great website as well. Another app is the Think Dirty app and the Yuka app. I don't use those, but I know so many people who do, and they are just as good, and they are very good at helping you kind of sort through your products. Most of them have like a scan and a barcode option that you can just scan your products or go to the store and scan them, or even look them up on the app. But basically it gives you a tool to help you weed through all of this. And again, it's frustrating that we need to do this, but we are responsible for our own selves. We are responsible for our own fertility. So I guess it kind of makes sense. If you can, buy organic. If you can, avoid fragrances for sure. And when you can, choose the clean, low tox version when possible. Overall, I will say the first hurdle is to signal to your body that it is safe to get and stay pregnant. This involves soothing your nervous system, getting your body out of crisis mode, and basically dialing back the dial on all of those pesky symptoms that are getting in the way. The next hurdle would be to prove to your body that you can handle the pregnancy and that you can maintain the pregnancy and provide all of the important nutrients and building blocks along the way by doing that now, by taking better care of your nutrition, by taking better care of your health, and making sure that your body is well fed and that your fertility is fed. It's almost like getting out of your own way. From egg health and sperm health, all the way through implantation and the early weeks of the placenta forming, there are so many milestones between egg meeting sperm and bringing your healthy baby earthside. There are so many places that things can go wrong. But being a glass half full kind of person, that means there's so many places that things can go right. There are so many areas for you to be the mama bear. I know that you are already, and you can start taking better care of each step even now. Try to look at these 4 steps with a fresh set of eyes. You don't have to do all of them at once, but you should start. Start slow if you have to. Remember, it takes roughly 120 days for your egg to be fully ready and developed for ovulation. So that gives you basically a 4-month window to optimize your egg health that's coming up. So use your time wisely. Make improvements day after day, month after month, little by little. And when you start to see the symptoms that you were ignoring, but you stopped ignoring, improve, you can start to have more confidence and more faith in your body, kind of like I did. And I went into my next pregnancy with more confidence. You can reconnect with your body, reconnect with your fertility. You will have more faith and more confidence that the next one will stick. If you're looking for more support and more guidance, not only on these 4 areas, but all of the inputs that go into healthy, robust, balanced fertility, I have space in my Make Every Egg Count fertility program, and I would love to welcome you in, and I would be honored to be part of your journey to your pregnancy in 2025 and beyond. I'll put a link in the description if you want to learn more. Thank you so much for watching this video and welcoming me back to YouTube. I can't wait to go on and make more videos for you all. Let me know in the comments if there's more topics that you want me to discuss, more areas that I should be covering, things that you are struggling with, and I would love to hear what tip you are going to tackle first. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next time. Bye.